many different ways that we can be distracted today, whether that's just things that are taking place around us, or there are so many different bits of technology that are vying for our attention. They are designed to grab our attention. And at least in my personal experience, it's really challenging to stick with one thing for an extended period of time. Whether my phone is buzzing or not, I find myself being drawn to it. Or even if I sit down to do something that I enjoy doing, I notice that my mind wanders elsewhere, and I'm wondering if maybe I should be doing both at the same time, or maybe I'll try that thing out and then I'll come back and then I'll go between them. And so these sessions really are an invitation to experiment with how it is to just do one thing at a time. And by developing that skill, we find that perhaps we're able to engage in activities and the things that we do in our day-to-day lives in a slightly more enjoyable way, maybe more effective and productive too. And as students, that's really helpful, right? We have a certain amount of hours in the day. It can seem counterintuitive to take time out of that to do something that actually isn't about achieving anything in particular. It's about learning how to be. But we notice that when we take this period of time out from our day-to-day lives, the overall impact on our productivity, on our emotional resilience is benefited. So we really find that overall, we find that it's effective in how we use our time. So I thought it would be nice to start the session before we get into our first practice with a little check-in. So we have the chat box open and you can just select my name, and I'd be really interested in knowing to start just how you are. Sometimes it can be difficult to put how you are in those literal emotive words, and I find it quite helpful to use the analogy of a weather forecast. So how are you feeling? If you were to give a weather forecast of how you're feeling now, what does the weather look like? So perhaps, and it's up to you for your imagination to decide what that means exactly, but if I was feeling really light and happy, maybe I would say my weather forecast is quite sunny and the wind is quite gentle. You know, I can feel the breeze gently against my face and the sun is just perfect. Maybe if I'm feeling a little bit emotional right now, I might say, yeah, the wind is really choppy. The clouds are feeling quite grey and pressure's feeling quite heavy. So sometimes that's an easier way to access and tune into how we're feeling when it's a little bit less direct than literally trying to come up with the emotion that sums it up perfectly. So why don't you let us all know, how are you doing? Because part of what this is all about is just checking in. Taking a moment to say, yeah, how do I feel right now? And then that awareness of just how we're feeling can be really helpful in the next moment to decide what to do about it. So we have Roni or Ronnie, I'm sorry, I'm not sure of the pronunciation, but Roni says calm and breezy. Nice. Someone says, I'm feeling either sunny from some good things coming, but a little rainy because I had conflicts or arguments I had to encounter. Yeah, perfect. Sometimes it's not so easy to say. Sometimes we're expected maybe to say, oh, I feel great, or I feel rubbish. It's quite difficult sometimes to say, well, actually, it's quite a mixed experience at the moment. So yeah, sometimes there's a little bit of rain and a little bit of sun, and it's all just in there. We're more complex sometimes than just saying, everything's great, everything's bad. Okay, someone says, it's raining. I feel like laying down on the ground and feel the raindrops fall on my face. Interesting. I'd like to know more about that. So raining, it's interesting. Raining, we tend to have an idea that this is something negative, that this is something challenging, maybe a low emotion. But then there's a sense of, okay, what are we going to do about that? Well, there's a sense here of embracing it, opening to it and feeling the raindrops, which is also a really mindful practice as well. Can we be with the emotion? Can we experience it more fully? I love it. I love it. Thanks. Okay, maybe one more. Hannibal says, a foggy, because too many responsibilities, so I can't see what lays ahead and where's the end. Foggy, too many responsibility, and it's difficult to know where the end is and what's ahead. Yeah, great. Great, that's a really nice weather report. Thank you. So maybe even just having asked that question, sometimes that can feel like a nice light relief. Because it's like, I haven't actually taken a moment yet today to just ask myself that question. So often people ask us, how are you doing? And we just reflexively say, yeah, we're fine. So sometimes it can actually be quite confronting to say, no, how actually am I? And that can sometimes put us into a slightly negative place because it's confronting. It can be challenging to say, actually things aren't great in this moment. But often what we find is that we notice that if we're able to bring a mindfulness perspective to it, it does often sometimes allow those difficult emotions to untangle slowly. And that's what we're here to practice. How can we bring our attention to our experience and bring some kindness to it as well, and see what effect that has? Oh, and lastly, someone says that there's a thunderstorm. Yeah. So a real mix of emotions, mix of weather reports. So bearing that in mind, acknowledging that we're all feeling quite different, we have different weather reports, why don't we move into our first practice? I think, well, we'll do one practice. We'll do a slightly longer practice maybe than usual if we have the time. And we're going to begin, as we always do, by just giving our body a little stretch, showing a little bit of love. So as always, whatever that means to you, you don't need to think about it so much. Let's just tune into the body and ask it what it would enjoy right now. A little stretch, a little massage. I've been sitting in a car for 6.5 hours today, so I'm really appreciating this invitation to just tend to my body, tend to the stress. Okay. And when you feel like you've moved all that you would like to, you can just allow the body to come to a point of stillness. Find a posture that's going to feel comfortable. And then just allow the eyes, if it's okay for you, to just gently close. Just letting our minds, letting our bodies know that we're going to be paying some attention to our internal experience. So as usual, I invite you to just become familiar with your posture, just to how it feels when you sit or stand or lie here. Remembering that this isn't a practice about doing anything in particular. No expectation that the experience should be a particular way. Right now, all we're doing is just getting familiar with the shape of the body, the space that it occupies in the room. Maybe having a sense of the weight of the body, being held down by gravity, but also being supported by the chair or the floor beneath you. And then we're going to begin this practice with the first stage of tuning into this soundscape. It's taking place all around us. The soundscape is just all the sounds that we're able to hear. Whether they're coming from really quite far away, the wind or some traffic, an aeroplane. Sounds coming from nearby in the house or the room in which you're sitting. Maybe sounds that are coming from you, from the gentle movement, from your breathing. And just noticing what there is to hear in this moment. And we don't need to go searching for sounds, straining in any way. Just imagining ourselves a bit like a microphone. So whatever sound that there is, it just is received. You may notice as you do this that as you hear a sound, there's some form of automatic reaction and idea forms as to what's made that sound, or a memory of something that you think has caused it, an experience you've had in the past with it. Or maybe a word pops up, a label that we give to it. Maybe a judgment of considering it pleasant or unpleasant. And the process here is just to notice whatever the sound is and the reaction, and tune back into the sound once again. Maybe there are sounds that are familiar, sounds that seem new. And as well as the more obvious sounds, noticing if there are any more subtle sounds underneath or in between. Then before we move on to the next stage, it might be helpful just to check in with your posture. Check if it's how you had originally intended it to be. Making any minor adjustments with purpose, with awareness if you do. And then bringing the focus of attention into the body, down into the feet. And just simply noticing how the feet feel in this moment. Not looking for any particular experience. Just the touch against the floor, perhaps. The tightness of socks or shoes. Maybe a sense of the individual toes and the space between the toes. And if you notice that the mind is wandering or thoughts are coming along for the ride, then just knowing that this isn't a failure, this is just a part of what our minds do. When we recognize this, it's a moment of mindfulness, of awareness. We just gently and kindly bring the mind back again each time. Perhaps you've noticed your doing mind kicking back in again. Thoughts of other things that you should be doing instead. Maybe a sense of impatience. And so if you notice that that's a part of your experience, again, just recognizing it. No need to change anything, and just gently bringing the mind back again to simply how it feels in the feet right now. As we move the attention upwards through the body, up through the legs, the pelvis, and then just noticing how it feels where the body makes contact with the seat beneath you. And as always with these practices, if the experience ever becomes overly uncomfortable or disturbing, you always have that choice, that option to just bring the mind out of where it currently is. Focus on somewhere that feels a little bit more comfortable, that feels safer. Maybe to another part of the body, maybe back to sounds. Maybe opening up the eyes and appreciating something nearby. But otherwise, we're just here for a moment, hanging out with the attention, just where the body makes contact with the seat beneath you. Maybe there's a sense of balance, of stability that comes along with that, but just recognizing that. As you then bring the attention up through the body, through the torso and the shoulders, down the arms and out to the hands. And once again, just allowing the mind to settle here for a moment. No need to be thinking about the sensations, observing the images that may arrive. Just tuning into the pure and raw sensation within the hands. Maybe the touch of one hand against the other, gentle breeze, a sense of the space between the fingers. Maybe there's some gentle vibrating, throbbing, or maybe numbness that you feel inside the hands. And then the final place where we're going to rest our attention is in the nostrils, having a sense of the air moving through the nostrils as we breathe in and breathe out. And just see what you notice there. Perhaps there's slightly cooler air you notice on the inhale, slightly warmer air on the exhale. Maybe there's some gentle tingling you notice. Maybe you notice that the one nostril is slightly more closed, more blocked than another. And without trying to control the breath or restrict it, just noticing how it feels to just let go of that process, allowing the body to breathe itself. No need to regulate it. And then as we come towards the end of this practice, just returning to where we started, a sense of the whole body sitting here. The space that it occupies in the room, the outline. And noticing if already the mind is jumping forwards, leaning into the next moment, the thing that you'll do after the session. And just recognizing this natural tendency of our minds to always work away in the future, anticipating rather than just settling in the moment. And just for the last few moments, just giving yourself that permission to just be here now. Just with a sense of how it feels in the body as you sit here. So with the sound of the bell, we come to the end of the practice. And only when you're ready, you can open up the eyes and just start to bring some gentle movement back into the body like we began. Again, not really engaging the mind so much, just tuning into what the body automatically wants to do in terms of movement. And maybe you can even ask yourself that question again at the moment. What's your weather pattern right now? What's your weather report? Maybe it feels quite similar to before. Maybe it feels quite different. We have a few moments for the chat box always to just let me know how that experience was, or ask me any questions that you have about mindfulness or the practice we've just done, or your experiences of it. So you can just find my name, Solomon. Send me a message. Always nice to know your name, where you're from. Let me know what time it is where you are as well. I'm always amazed. Some people joining us at all kinds of hours throughout the night. And just let me know, how was that? What's your weather report? We have just a few minutes left. And then to give you guys a heads up, for those who haven't been before, at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. British summertime, where I am, we open up this session. You have an open mic session where everyone can chat and connect and hang out together in this room. That's when I head off. Okay, so someone says, Rishabh from India says hi. Someone says, I feel great. Awesome. Thanks for letting us know. Ronnie says, summer autumn day with blue sky and white moving clouds. Sounds like a nice forecast. Kalyan says 24 degrees Celsius, haze in India. Nice, I like we're getting precise with our temperatures. I'm not sure if that's the actual temperature or that's your emotional forecast. I'm assuming the emotional forecast. But 24 sounds, I can't handle heat, guys. 24 is too hot for me, even 24. 19 degrees, light breeze, perfect. You can tell I'm a Brit. The meditation helps me stay stable and go through the daily chaos with a calm mindset. And cloudy with the sun peeking out of the clouds, feeling less stressed and scared of my responsibilities. Katrina from the Philippines says, as always, these sessions were amazing. I actually had a little bit of a bad day today, but this was super calming. The weather I had after this was like cloudy and calming, which is much more helpful to clear my mind. It's actually almost 3 a.m. here. Wow. I'd love to know where you are. Where is it in the world? It's 3 a.m. Colin says, need a few motivational sessions too. Interesting. Do you want to tell me what you mean by that? What would be motivational for you? How can I help? Let's see, I'll just see if those guys want to just respond to let me know. Motivational. I often find, so speaking from personal experience with motivation, it's become more practice for me of, instead of trying to find something to motivate me, it's been more about identifying the obstacles and overcoming the obstacles to getting things done. So I found that I used to reach out to a lot of people giving motivational talks and inspiring me, and I found that only helped for so long. And then I was just kind of back in my own head, struggling with procrastination and feeling less motivated than I was just an hour before. So for me, a mindfulness practice brings about motivation in the sense that the usual things that I do to distract myself or the anxiety that maybe builds up that stops me from beginning a project because I'm worried about how it's going to turn out, how other people will judge it, how I'll judge myself. When I can have a mind that is a bit more stable and clear, then find that that motivation is kind of just naturally there because I see that there's a path to me beginning or continuing something, because there's less of there are fewer of those obstacles in place. So I don't know how much that speaks to motivation. I don't know if you guys have found anything similar, but for me, really just allowing the mind to settle and clear kind of creates a bit more of a path to more productivity, more motivation. David says, hi Solomon, I love the mindfulness sessions. Would you, StudyStream, consider doing Zumba sessions as well? Interesting. I'll pass it on. I mean, I won't be running them. I'll tell you that. My mum is a big Zumba fan. Should we get her on to run some sessions? Yeah, should we do that? Is that a popular move? I don't think she would be up for it. But yeah, all right. I'll put that up to StudyStream HQ. That's a Zumba. I'm not sure. It would be good to do some, I'm being a bit facetious. It would be genuinely good to have some sessions involving movement. I think that's true. Get the body moving. It doesn't have to be like a particularly mindful session. Just, yeah, just move the body, because the body and the mind, you know, they come as a pair. One impacts the other. So absolutely, we can look into that. Thanks for the suggestion. Okay, last couple before I need to leave. Yeah, Roni says yoga, absolutely. Kiana says, I think all of us trying to be mindful is motivating. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful sentiment. Like, I definitely get motivation from all you guys being here and being able to see you and read your comments, like, no doubt. And I know that running these sessions for me is a real time where, you know, really encourages, it really forces me to approach my own mindfulness practice with a real kind of rigor and seriousness around it, because I'm then not doing it just for myself, but I'm doing it for you. I need to make sure that I'm kind of showing up in some kind of a state where I can lead a session, you know, and I really love that. It's so motivating for me knowing that I'm going to be coming on here and I want to be my best self for you. So yeah, I think being part of a community can, you know, good community, a healthy community can really encourage us to develop healthy habits. So yeah, I really like that. I really like that. Okay, guys, that is everything. I'm going to head off. The only last thing to say is just a reminder that these sessions happen every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at this same time. One little announcement to make, I suppose, is that a bunch of you were asking about having these sessions run more frequently, maybe at a different time. So in a couple of weeks, we're going to be running a week of daily mindfulness sessions at an early time. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work. I think it will be a similar kind of format, but just every day and earlier on, and we'll see how that goes. If you guys want to send any suggestions around how you think the sessions could run a little bit longer, more talking, more conversation, more me just rambling about mindfulness, or longer meditations, or whatever you would like, head on over to the mindfulness chat panel on Discord. That's the best place. And then I can read those suggestions. You guys can, as a community, figure out what would be best for you guys, and then we can make that happen. So I will let you know though about that. In fact, I'll send that out in the next mindfulness memo. So if you're not signed up to the mindfulness memo, then again, head over to the website, go to the mindfulness page at the bottom, sign up, and then you get all the information through there. Cool. All right, guys, that's everything. Have wonderful days, well, mornings for some of you, early mornings. Have fun. You guys are gonna be able to unmute in 1 second. I'm gonna